Little walk around of the dune buggy. I guess we could just start with any of the blemishes or little things I know of. This hole is a little elongated on the top, but the carriage bolt still holds it in place. Came that way and haven't decided to mess with it. And this is how it all came with the carriage bolts and everything when I got it. There's two holes on each side. They had some really ugly mud flaps hanging off of it, and they also had the license plate mounted to this mud flap over here, and it used to have a Stinger exhaust that came out, which it looked really cool, but I also couldn't figure out where I was going to put a plate because I didn't want the flaps on it. So this was in a box of stuff that came with it, and I decided to order up the stainless Empy exhaust and put this back on. And you could tell it had like a piano hinge on it because the upper part was still on the body. So it's not my favorite, but we went with some gold to try to make it blend in. I was going to do a license plate ring around it too, but man, they want a ton of money for a license plate ring nowadays. So we put this back on. I like it better anyways. I think it's cleaner. We've done a new carb. It's an Solex knockoff 30 pick 3, I think it is. And the little teeny air cleaner. New generator, new voltage regulator, new wires, new plugs, valve adjustment. There's like no end play in the crank. It's nice shape. The engine and transmission does not leak. I can park this thing for days, if not weeks on end, which it never sits that long because I like driving it. And it does not drip on the ground or anything. And it doesn't burn oil. Turn signals all work, brake lights, running lights. There is a hole here too. They used to have like a buggy whip or a spring with a big whip on it for sand dunes. Took that off because I never planned on taking this to the dunes in my ownership. There are some light scuffs. We'll go around and point that out. Just little teeny things. A little blemish or something right here. There are some marks where the top sits, but if you wax it, this dull, I don't know what you want to call it, it's just kind of dirty. That all goes away. Just minimal little dings and stuff you'd expect for a rig that's probably 50 years old. A little bit of chippage here, a little scratch here, and then these are actually in the gel coat. I don't know if they're showing up, but it's just something weird when they sprayed it. Let's see here. Got a little scratch here from something. She's already dusty and I washed it yesterday. Some more just weird little, I don't know, looks like from the mold, just kind of rough right there. It's not delambing, huh? I missed some mud from my driveway. Let's see. Dual reservoir master cylinder, new. And all new wheel cylinders. Brakes are adjusted very well. Stops nice and straight. There's a little bit of damage right here. Previous owner. It does have the Dietz headlights. The Dietz 510s, high and low beam. They work. It's got new spindles. and new Link and King pins. Front end's very, very nice. Shocks are not very old. I made this little brass ring around the filler deck because I just didn't like the opening's probably about that big, that little gap. I don't know if it's coming through, but I just didn't like the way it looked. And I also noticed this fender and where this body line meet, this isn't sitting up tight here like it is over here. So I did try to see if it was just not mounted all the way. What I did find out though is where the body lip comes into here, what they should have done 40-50 years ago when they were assembling this is trim some of that off, and it would have allowed the nose to sit tighter, but they didn't do that. And I didn't feel like messing, I mean, that's a whole can of worms, you know, all the wiring and everything. So just left it the way it was, made a little trim ring for here, and I think it kind of dressed it up pretty nice actually. It's got wheel adapters up front. It's a Ford 5-lug bolt pattern and big 5 in the rear. These are the tires that came on it. They do have tubes in the rears. They do not leak. They do show some age, but tires were also a lot better back then. There are no vibrations, no out of balance feel or anything. I cruised this thing around and I absolutely love the look of these tires. I looked at buying some different stuff, you know, slotted mags, all kinds of period correct stuff, and never came up with anything that I wanted to pull the trigger on. So we sanded the rims down and sprayed those too when we were doing the top. The pan has been undercoated after I did a battery pan section on this. That was the only rust in the buggy floor, so we ordered up a new pan section, and then I still had to diagonal slice it as if you were building this from scratch. Otherwise it just wouldn't fit right. So that goes up to about here on the floor, and it fits very nice and tight. There's 2 cracks in where the battery sits. There's one right there and there's one right here. And I think it's because they didn't have anything holding the battery down over all the years. And what I did is I took some, like 3/16 2-inch wide flat plate, and then I welded 2 pieces of all thread to the bottom plate and stuck it up through the bottom. So and then I have a plate on top of the battery. So all you have to do is just undo the nuts and take the plate off, and the battery comes out. And there's the new voltage regulator. Want to explain this VIN. So this is titled as a 68. After I got it home and played with it for a while, I started to realize that this wasn't 1968. I did not notice it in my excitement of when I went and bought this. And this is like, I want to say 64 and earlier heater control knob. 68 would have had 2 levers here. So why we have this brass VIN plate is, if you can see here, they didn't from what I read, you were supposed to like put an angle in the shifter because the geometry changed when you shorten the pan, and then you had to shorten the shifter and everything. Somewhere along the line, and my guess is the 68 pan at some point was must have been rotten or something. I don't know. The guy that owned this has passed on, so I can't ask questions. But regardless, they kind of hacked out this piece of metal right here to get the right clearance for the shift rod, because I think it would have been closed about right here and it would have hit this. So in doing that, we lost the original VIN, which became one of my concerns in selling this, because I knew that I wanted to put this on Bring a Trailer and it would probably leave Oregon. I went to DMV today to see if there was a way I could get a VIN for it, like a specially constructed vehicle VIN or whatever. And the lady told me that being that this is, it's registered, it's in my name, I have the title, I have new tags for it on the vehicle. And she told me, I explained to her that I think the pan had been changed at one time, and that they must have just said screw it and never took the title for the new pan down and got it registered to the other pan. She told me, and I was not expecting to hear this, that I could go home and either stamp it into the tunnel or make my own VIN or have a VIN made. So I opted to just make one out of brass, and she said there's enough documentation on this thing, and I have all the old registrations. I even have stickers for the license plate that never got put on. They paid for registration, and then they must not have used it for several years at different times in life. And she told me I had nothing to worry about. So if you're looking at this from out of state, all the other DMV agencies, that's all they want to see is that number and the paperwork that will be provided with the buggy. So there's that. So that's what I came up with. Tried to kind of put it in similar location, but I do think it's probably like a 64 pan. This switch is in op. I don't know what that's for. Everything works except for emergency flashers. I could not figure those out. I spent actually quite a bit of time trying to track that down, and I believe it's the relay box, because everything in here is 68. The column 68, even the knobs would be out of like a 68 Beetle. And so this is your relay box down here for a bunch of things. It's working on everything but flashers. So I don't know if there's a relay inside that box that's dirty or what, but I finally just kind of gave up on it, because once you put your seats back in here, it's not that much fun to work on these if you've ever had one of these before. This would be my third one. Speedometer works, but it makes noise up here. I'm assuming it's just dry. I've tried adding lithium grease and silicone spray and stuff where the cable goes in. It works for a while, but then after a while it starts to kind of make a groaning, whining noise that's pretty annoying. So we just disconnected the cable here at the hub, and I cleaned it so that, and put a piece of tape on there so water and stuff wouldn't get inside there in the bearings. That's something that would have to be addressed if you're worried about keeping track of miles or how fast you're going, which I would also mention, I think the speedometer is about 8 miles off. 8 miles an hour faster, I believe. And got another little, this little nicks here and here, but overall not too bad. The hood is a little faded. I tried my best with Meguiar's medium cut and buffed on this thing for quite a while, and it's just, it is what it is. It's a little faded on the hood, but not bad. New empty steering wheel, brand new upholstered seats. I don't know what these were, the seats and frames that came in it. I'm assuming they are probably something Japanese or whatever, import car from that era of like the 70s, 60s, 70s. And I really liked the style of them. So I had a local guy here in town completely reupholster them, and I painted the frames. So those are all dialed in nice, and they do slide and adjust. It's got seat belts up front, but nothing in the back. We've got Fox shocks in the rear, coilovers. They're not brand new, but they work good, and they're also rebuildable. New axle boots, and I think I already said it's got all new wheel cylinders, master cylinder, flex lines, and new hard line going to the back of the car, and a couple of the smaller hard lines that were on the rear horns of the pan. Other than that, it's a really nice car. Absolutely love it, and I hope somebody loves it as much as I do. I'd love to keep it, but I've got other things in life that I'm trying to accomplish, and personally don't have the a place to store this come winter time. So it's time to try to find a new home for her. Runs good. Pretty solid rig. I've pretty much, besides the hazard lights and the speedometer, I've pretty much got everything dialed in on it, and it's ready to go drive around and have fun. Take it to the local car show or whatever you want to do with it. 4 bolts and the top comes off. They're a 3/4 nut on the back side of here, and you can take it off yourself, but it's easier with somebody else. There's a lip in the window frame and a channel on this top, so it's secured very tight, very good. There's no issues with that. I think that's about it. If you have any more questions or want to know any more about it, or if there's something else you'd like pictures of or whatever, let me know. I do believe this body is was manufactured in, I think, Tacoma or Seattle, Washington, as the company was called Beettle, with 2 E's. And from what I can tell online, this is identical to the ones that they made. Other than that, I don't know anything else about it. So thanks for checking this out, and happy bidding.